You stand on the threshold of a moment that demands awakening. The ground beneath your feet trembles not to destroy you, but to rouse you. For the house you dwell in, whether built of stone, timber, or the chambers of your own soul, is at risk of slipping from your grasp not by fate, not by punishment, but by neglect of the truth you already know. You are about to lose what shelters you because you have forgotten the strength that is already yours. You allowed fear to whisper louder than conviction, shadows to speak louder than faith, and doubts to parade as truth. You have surrendered territory, within and around you, simply because you stopped defending it. But this is not a warning meant to break you. It is a call to rise, stand firm, draw your courage back from the corners where you have hidden it. Reclaim the authority that has always been yours. You were never meant to cower before challenges. You were forged to confront them, to command them, to overcome them. The house you risk losing, your peace, your stability, your sanctuary, your sense of belonging, is not meant to be taken from you. It is meant to be protected by you. So listen, strengthen your walls with truth, clear your rooms of fear, fortify your foundation with unwavering faith, and when doubt rises like a storm, meet it with the fire that has been waiting inside you. You are not powerless. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. Stand in the center of your life like a warrior who has remembered their armor. Lift your voice like a trumpet cutting through the fog. Reclaim your house, your life, your ground. For what is threatened can still be saved. What trembles can still be steadied. What seems lost can still be restored. Rise now. Take back what is yours. And let nothing, seen or unseen, move you from your rightful place. You risk losing your house because you abandoned your inner strength. You may not have noticed the moment it happened. It was not a single choice, but a slow drift, a gradual loosening of the grip you once held so firmly. Strength is not always lost with a roar. Sometimes it slips away in whispers, in small concessions, in moments when you choose silence over truth, hesitation over action, doubt over conviction. You once stood firmly on your own ground, anchored, certain, aware of the force within you, but somewhere along the journey, you began to believe the world around you more than the power within you. That is where the first cracks formed. Your inner strength isn't simply confidence or determination. It is the spiritual core that tells you who you are when everything else is stripped away. It is the fire that cannot be extinguished unless you allow it. And yet, piece by piece, you let external pressures, fears, and circumstances dim it. You handed over authority to uncertainty. You let other voices drown out your own. You let storms dictate your posture instead of standing tall in the center of them. When strength goes quiet, the walls around you begin to tremble. When you stop protecting what's yours internally, what's external starts slipping through your fingers. The house you risk losing is more than a structure. It is your stability, your sense of safety, your life as you know it. When you abandon your inner strength, You abandon the protection that keeps your house standing. Think of your strength as the beams holding everything in place. When they weaken, the weight above them begins to press down harder and harder. Challenges that you once could have lifted without trembling now feel overwhelming. Problems that could have been solved with a single decisive moment now echo through your thoughts until they seem impossible to face. This is the cost of letting your strength fade. Everything around you becomes heavier, darker, more fragile. You did not choose weakness. You chose survival in moments where you felt you had no better option. You chose to endure instead of fight. You chose to hold your breath instead of shout. You chose to withdraw instead of stand your ground. These choices were not sins, they were human. But they came with consequences. Every time you turned away from your power, you signaled to the forces around you that you would not defend your territory. Every moment you doubted your own ability, you allowed fear to take root. Fear is not content to stay in the corners. It expands, it creeps, it fills rooms you once kept sacred. The house you live in is a reflection of your internal state. When you are strong, the roof above you is steady and sure. When you are aligned, the walls hold firm. But when you forget your authority, even the foundation begins to shift. You may have noticed signs, confusion where there was once clarity, hesitation where there was once control, chaos where there was once peace. These are not accidents. They are messages. They are warnings. They are reminders that you have stepped away from the source of your power. They call you, not to shame you, not to defeat you, but to pull you back into your rightful strength. You risk losing your house not because forces stronger than you are closing in, but because you have forgotten that you were always stronger than they are. You risk losing what is yours because you stopped believing that you are worthy of keeping it. You allowed the external world to convince you that you are small. You let fear build illusions so convincing that you mistook them for truth. But deep within you, the strength you abandoned still waits. It is not destroyed. It is not extinguished. It is simply dormant, like a warrior resting between battles, waiting for your command to rise again. Your inner strength is the guardian of everything you cherish. It is the unseen shield that protects your home, your peace, your stability. When you neglected it, you left the door cracked open for uncertainty to slip through. You allowed fear to whisper possibilities of loss, and instead of silencing them, you listened. You let worry braid itself into your thoughts until it felt like inevitability. This is why the house you live in feels fragile now. This is why you feel the threat of losing what is yours. The danger is not external. It originates from the absence of the force that once held your life together, belief in your own power. But abandonment does not have to be permanent. The same strength you let slip away can return the moment you choose it. Strength responds to choice, to intention, to recognition. It waits for you to reclaim it. It waits for you to remember that the power within you has never failed you. It waits for the moment you stop letting fear speak louder than the truth that lives in your spirit. You may feel tired, worn down, drained by circumstances, but strength does not require you to feel invincible to awaken. It requires only that you acknowledge it again. To reclaim your inner strength is to reclaim your house. It is to stand in a room that once felt unstable and declare that you will not be moved. It is to look at every fear and deny its claim over your life. It is to breathe deeply and remember that you have survived storms far darker than this one. It is to understand that the threat of losing your house is not prophecy. It is a call to return to yourself. The moment you gather your courage and ignite your determination once more, the ground beneath you steadies, the walls strengthen, the roof holds, the danger dissolves. You risk losing your house only if you continue to forget who you are. But if you remember your strength, if you rise back into it with even a fraction of the fire that once burned in you, nothing can take what is yours. The power to keep your house standing has always been and will always be within you. Fear has been allowed to speak louder than truth. It did not begin by shouting. Fear rarely does. It begins in soft murmurs, subtle enough that you mistake them for your own thoughts. It plants seeds of doubt in quiet moments, disguised as concern, caution, or realism. Slowly, steadily, it expands its territory until its voice echoes louder than the truth you once trusted. What was once a whisper becomes a constant presence, shaping your choices, your beliefs, and even your sense of identity. When fear becomes louder than truth, it alters the way you see everything, your future, your worth, your strength, your stability. Fear is a master of illusion. It does not need facts to feel real. It thrives in uncertainty and magnifies every small worry into a looming threat. It turns possibilities into predictions, predictions into inevitabilities. When you listen long enough, fear convinces you that its voice is the safest one to follow. It persuades you that truth is naive, unrealistic, or dangerous. Fear wears the mask of protection, whispering that its warnings are for your own good, that retreat is wisdom, that silence will keep you safe. But fear's protection is a cage, not a shelter. Once fear becomes the dominant voice, it begins to distort your internal world. Decisions become harder, confidence becomes thinner, vision becomes clouded. You no longer look at situations with clarity. You look at them through the lens of what could go wrong. Every path seems risky. Every solution seems fragile. Every idea feels suspect. You become hesitant, overcautious, and reactive. Instead of walking forward with intention, you tiptoe around potential dangers that may not even be real. When fear rules, progress halts, and you find yourself stuck in cycles of worry, replaying possibilities instead of acting on realities. Truth, on the other hand, is steady and clear. It does not exaggerate. It does not confuse. It does not manipulate. Truth speaks in alignment with your deepest knowing, your highest wisdom, your inner integrity. It is calm even in chaos. It is firm even in uncertainty. But truth has one disadvantage: it does not shout. It does not force itself into your mind. It waits to be invited, recognized, and honored. When you drown it out with fear's relentless noise, truth's guidance becomes harder to hear. Not because it weakens, but because you have turned your attention elsewhere. Fear grows louder the more you feed it. Every time you replay a worst-case scenario, fear grows. Every time you let anxiety drive a decision, fear grows. Every time you avoid something simply because it intimidates you, fear grows. Fear thrives on avoidance, uncertainty, and silence. It is empowered each time you choose not to confront it. Without confrontation, fear multiplies until it becomes a chorus that drowns out everything else. And once it dominates your thoughts, it influences your actions in ways you may not even notice. When fear becomes louder than truth, it affects the stability of your entire life. It weakens your foundation, because truth is what keeps you grounded. Without truth as your anchor, your thoughts sway like branches in a storm, bending in whatever direction fear blows. You start to question things that were once certain. You doubt your abilities, your decisions, your instincts. You see threats where none exist. You defend yourself against dangers that are only shadows. Fear convinces you that your world is more unstable than it actually is. This is where the threat to your house, the life you have built, begins to take shape. When fear leads, clarity disappears. When clarity disappears, mistakes multiply. And when mistakes multiply, the foundation of your stability weakens. Fear tells you that everything is fragile, and in believing that, you inadvertently make it so. You hesitate when you should act. You retreat when you should advance. You second-guess yourself instead of protecting what is yours. This paralysis creates openings for real problems to take root. Problems that truth could have prevented, had its voice not been silenced. Fear is not inherently evil. It is a natural signal meant to alert you to danger. But when it is given too much authority, it becomes the very danger it warns you about. It becomes the architect of instability. It becomes the destroyer of confidence. It becomes the thief of peace. And the more space you give it, the more it takes. But truth never disappears, even when fear overshadows it. Truth remains within you, waiting to be acknowledged again. It is the steady presence that whispers of your capabilities, your resilience, your worth. It reminds you of what you have overcome. It points you to what is real, not what is imagined. Truth grounds you when fear tries to scatter your mind in every direction. To let truth speak louder again, you must first recognize the ways fear has infiltrated your thinking. You must become aware of the moments when fear's voice seems like your own. You must pause when fear pressures you to act quickly, because truth never rushes. You must question the stories fear tells you. Are they based on evidence? Are they consistent with your past strength? Are they truly aligned with the person you know yourself to be? Fear often falls apart under scrutiny, because it thrives in emotional reaction, not reason. When you choose to listen to truth again, fear loses volume. It shrinks, it retreats, it becomes a quiet signal rather than a controlling force. You begin to see situations clearly, without distortion. You recognize possibilities instead of dangers. You reclaim your ability to act with purpose. Truth restores what fear disrupted: your stability, your confidence, your inner peace. You allowed fear to speak louder than truth, and because of that, the foundation of your house began to shake. But the moment you choose truth, the shaking stops. The moment you choose clarity, confusion fades. The moment you choose courage, fear's voice dissolves. You do not have to fight fear directly. You only have to turn your ear toward truth. It has been waiting patiently for you to return to it. Fear may have dominated your mind for a time, but it does not have to rule your future. Truth is stronger. Truth is steadier. Truth is yours. The moment you let it speak again, everything that fear threatened to take from you can be reclaimed. Your foundation must be reclaimed and fortified. A life, a home, a sense of stability, all of these stand upon an inner structure that is formed long before any physical wall is built. This foundation is made of conviction, discipline, clarity, purpose, and the unwavering belief that you have the right and the ability to hold your ground. When this inner foundation weakens, everything built upon it becomes vulnerable. Even if the walls appear strong and the roof appears steady, the slightest shift beneath can cause the entire structure to tremble. This is not about bricks or beams. It is about the core of your being, the place where your strength originates and where your stability is anchored. There was a time when your foundation was firm. You stood rooted in certainty, aligned with your values, confident in your direction. You made choices with clarity. You held your boundaries. You protected what mattered. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, erosion began. It may have come through stress, exhaustion, disappointment, emotional burdens, or circumstances that demanded more from you than you felt you had to give. Bit by bit, you let parts of your foundation crack. You told yourself it was temporary. You told yourself you would rebuild when you had time. But foundations do not wait. They demand attention in the moment they begin to weaken. A weakened foundation does not announce itself loudly. It shows up in subtle ways. You procrastinate on decisions that require strength. You allow others to push past your boundaries. You ignore your needs because you feel too tired to uphold them. You tolerate behaviors you once would have confronted. You feel yourself losing control over areas you used to command with ease. When your foundation weakens, you begin to shift from living intentionally to merely reacting. Instead of leading your life, you begin to be led by circumstances. Instead of holding your ground, you find yourself giving it away in small pieces. This slow collapse of inner structure is not always visible to you. Sometimes it is only felt as uneasiness, restlessness, or a sense that something is off. But the truth is clear. A strong life cannot stand on a weakened foundation. The house you risk losing, the stability you cherish, is not collapsing because of external forces alone. It is collapsing because the ground beneath it has not been attended to. When you forget to maintain the inner structure, the outer structure begins to crack. Reclaiming your foundation means returning to yourself. It means remembering who you were before fear, fatigue, or disappointment distorted your inner landscape. It means restoring the principles you used to live by, not the ones shaped by fear, but the ones shaped by truth, dignity, and inner authority. You must rebuild the firmness of your boundaries, the clarity of your intentions, and the strength of your resolve. You must reconnect with the parts of yourself that once stood tall without apology. Fortification is not a passive act. It requires deliberate choices, consistent effort, and the willingness to confront what you have been avoiding. It requires honesty, brutal, transformative honesty. You must identify the cracks, where you have allowed people or circumstances to drain your energy, where you have compromised your values, where you have abandoned discipline, where you have allowed chaos to enter your space. Fortifying your foundation means addressing these areas not with shame, but with resolve. A strong foundation demands structure. It demands that you create systems that support your well-being and your goals. It demands that you cultivate habits that strengthen your body, mind, and spirit. It demands that you prioritize what sustains you and release what depletes you. Most importantly, it demands that you stop treating your inner strength as optional. It is not optional, it is essential. Without it, nothing you build will stand for long. Fortifying your foundation also means restoring authority to your own voice. When your foundation weakens, you begin to rely too heavily on others, on their approval, their direction, their validation. You start questioning decisions that once came naturally to you. You let external noise infiltrate your inner clarity. To reclaim your foundation, you must reclaim your voice. You must trust your instincts again. You must speak with conviction, even when others disagree. You must act from a place of internal truth, rather than external pressure. This process is not easy. Reconstruction never is. But do not mistake effort for impossibility. Your foundation is not lost. It is simply neglected. The strength you need to rebuild it is still within you. It has been waiting beneath the surface, buried under the weight of doubt and distraction. When you choose to strengthen the ground beneath you, everything built upon it becomes steadier. Your decisions become clearer. Your confidence returns. Your boundaries regain their shape. Your house, your life, becomes stable again. Fortification also requires removing what no longer belongs within your foundation. Old beliefs that weaken you must be released. Patterns that sabotage you must be replaced. Emotional debris that clutters your clarity must be cleared. You cannot build strength on top of what drains you. You cannot anchor stability to what does not support you. Removing these elements is not loss, it is liberation. It frees you to rebuild with materials that are resilient, grounded and aligned with who you truly are. Once you reclaim and fortify your foundation, the threats that once loomed over your life lose their power. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt unstable becomes secure. The house that once seemed on the brink of collapse becomes fortified, not because external forces changed, but because you did. Your strength becomes the shield. Your clarity becomes the structure. Your determination becomes the anchor. A fortified foundation does not fear storms, it withstands them. You have the ability to rebuild everything that is weakened. You have the authority to reclaim everything that seemed lost. But it begins with the foundation, your inner truth, your inner power, your inner resolve. Reclaim it, strengthen it, fortify it until nothing that challenges your life can shake it. The stability you desire is not outside of you, it is built from the ground within. This threat is a call to rise, not a sentence of defeat. It may feel overwhelming, heavy, or even final, but circumstances that push you to the edge are rarely meant to end you, they are meant to awaken you. When life shakes, when stability trembles, when the ground you trusted feels uncertain, it is not always an ending. Often it is a summons, a sharp and undeniable signal that you have been living beneath your potential, beneath your truth, beneath the strength that belongs to you. The pressure you feel is not here to destroy you, it is here to ignite you. There are moments in life where you are pushed far enough that you cannot ignore the truth any longer. You cannot avoid the decisions you've delayed. You cannot hide behind excuses or distractions. What threatens you becomes the very force that calls you into your rightful power. This is one of those moments. The house you stand to lose, whether literal or symbolic, represents the structures of your life that have been asking for attention, for repair, for reevaluation. The threat is not meant to paralyze you. It is meant to wake you up. There is a difference between a threat and a defeat. A threat warns you that something must change. A defeat tells you it is too late. You are not in defeat. You still have time, power, choice, direction. The very fact that you are aware of the danger means you are not finished. You are being given an opportunity, though it may be wrapped in discomfort, to rise into a version of yourself that has been waiting to emerge. Pressure reveals potential. Conflict sharpens clarity. Adversity strengthens resolve. This moment, unsettling as it may be, is forging something in you that comfort never could. Every challenge carries a message. When everything is calm and easy, you may drift, delay, or settle. But when your stability is threatened, you are forced to remember that you have a voice, a will, a backbone. You are reminded that passivity is no longer an option. You are pushed into motion, into claiming what is yours, into confronting what you avoided, into stepping into authority you forgot you had. Threats can feel frightening, but they can also be catalysts for transformation. They push you to grow in ways you never would have chosen on your own. Rise, not with fear, not with desperation, but with clarity. Rise because remaining where you are is no longer sustainable. Rise because the version of you that can protect your life, your stability, your home, is stronger than the version that drifted into this place. Rise because there is power in you that has been dormant, waiting for a moment intense enough to wake it. This is that moment. You are not meant to crumble under this pressure. You are meant to expand. You are meant to reclaim territory in your life where you have become passive or discouraged. You are meant to take back authority from fear, from doubt, from chaos. Rising does not always mean fighting external battles. Often it means standing taller within yourself. It means remembering that your decisions matter, your voice matters, your presence matters. It means acting with intention instead of reacting with worry. Defeat would mean you have no strength left to respond, but here you are, still capable, still aware, still breathing, still standing. That alone proves that defeat is not your destiny. You have everything you need to shift this situation, but your power cannot activate if you remain in fear. You must step forward. You must choose movement over paralysis. You must choose courage over collapse. Rising is not about being fearless. It is about acting even though fear exists. This moment is not here to break you. It is here to reveal you. It is here to uncover the strength you forgot you possessed. It is here to expose the depth of your resilience. It is here to remind you that you are not fragile, not powerless, not at the mercy of circumstances. You are capable of reclaiming what belongs to you. You are capable of rebuilding what has weakened. You are capable of standing up even when everything around you tries to push you down. Every person who has ever transformed their life has had a moment like this. When the comfort zone fell apart, when the old foundation cracked, when the world seemed to give a warning instead of a blessing. But these moments are thresholds. They ask who you are going to become. They ask whether you will retreat or step into your strength. They ask whether you will surrender to fear or stand in truth. You are being asked these questions now. The threat you face is not a stop sign. It is a turning point. It is urging you to shift your behavior, your mindset, your expectations of yourself. It is pushing you to take action that you have long avoided. It is insisting that you rise to a higher level of clarity and responsibility. There is no punishment in this moment, only invitation. You are being invited into a more powerful version of your life. But invitations are time-sensitive. They require response. They require movement. They require commitment. Rising means you stop waiting for things to fix themselves. Rising means you confront what needs confronting. Rising means you choose courage even if your hands shake. Rising means you take responsibility without self-blame. Rising means you channel your energy into solutions instead of fear. Rising means you fight for your stability, not through aggression, but through strength of will. You are stronger than this moment. You are larger than this threat. You are capable of more than you have allowed yourself to believe. The danger you sense is not here to destroy you. It is here to awaken the warrior in you that has been silent for too long. When you rise, fear loses power. When you rise, confusion dissolves. When you rise, the ground beneath you strengthens. You do not rise for the sake of others. You rise because your life depends on it, because your stability depends on it, because you deserve to stand in the fullness of your power. This is not a sentence of defeat. It is a call. Answer it. Rise. What is shaken can still be saved if you stand in your authority. The trembling you feel, the instability that worries you, the sense that something foundational is shifting beneath your feet, none of this means the situation is beyond repair. Trembling is not collapse. Shaking is not destruction. Instability is not finality. These movements are signs, signals, indicators that something in your life requires your presence, your decision, your strength. They point you toward action, not surrender. They remind you that you possess the authority to stabilize what feels unsteady, no matter how overwhelming the moment may seem. Everything in life that matters will shake at some point. Relationships shake, finances shake, confidence shakes, health shakes, purpose shakes. Even the strongest structures face moments of stress, but shaking is part of growth, part of awakening, part of transformation. It does not mean you have failed. It means something within the situation is adjusting, recalibrating, or calling for reinforcement. You are not meant to interpret the tremors as signs that you are losing everything. You are meant to read them as messages that your intervention is needed. The authority to restore balance lies with you, not the circumstances. Standing in your authority means recognizing that you are not powerless, even when you feel afraid. You are not a spectator to your own life. You are not waiting on the world to determine your fate. Authority is the internal alignment that reminds you that you have a voice, a will, a presence, and the right to shape your own reality. When you stand in that power, situations that once felt impossible begin to shift. The trembling slows. The fractures stop expanding. The falling pieces begin to settle. Not because the situation magically resolves, but because your energy changes, your posture, your decisions, your boundaries, your intentions. Authority is not a loud or aggressive force. It is calm. It is grounded. It is rooted in the knowledge that you will not be moved by fear. When you stand in this authority, you stop reacting and start directing. You stop surrendering to the storm and instead anchor yourself at the center of it. You stop letting circumstances dictate your emotions and start deciding where you place your attention. Authority is the difference between being shaken and being destroyed. It is the deciding factor in whether instability becomes collapse or becomes transformation. Many people misinterpret shaking as a sign that something is lost. But the truth is that what can be saved will always reveal its need through trembling. Pressure exposes weakness not to punish you, but so you can reinforce what matters. A house only collapses when its foundation is ignored. A life only breaks when its core is abandoned. When something shakes, it is calling for your involvement, your clarity, your strength, your movement. The moment you step into your authority, you begin to repair what has weakened, stabilize what has shifted, and protect what is yours. There is nothing about this moment that marks defeat. The very fact that the structure is still standing, even while shaking, means it is salvageable. You still have time, you still have options, you still have influence. You still have the power to intervene. Authority is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about acknowledging the truth and deciding not to surrender to it. It is about choosing action over collapse, clarity over fear, strength over passivity. Standing in your authority requires changing the way you see yourself. You must stop viewing yourself as fragile. You must stop treating yourself as though you are at the mercy of circumstances. You must stop believing that you are incapable of altering what surrounds you. Authority grows when you recognize that your life responds to your decisions. When you say no, the world rearranges around that no. When you say yes, new pathways open. When you act with intention, chaos begins to dissipate. You are not small, not unless you believe you are. To save what is shaking, you must commit to presence. Avoidance will not stabilize anything. Hoping things fix themselves will not stop the trembling. Waiting for a miracle will not reinforce your foundation. What saves the structure is your decision to engage. Look directly at what is shaking, not with fear, but with the resolve that you will not allow it to collapse. When you do this, when you choose to step into responsibility without panic, you generate the calm needed to create solutions. Authority also requires boundaries. If something in your life is shaking because others have taken advantage of your energy, your time, your resources, or your silence, then standing in authority means drawing lines. You must reclaim the space where you previously allowed others to encroach. You must speak where you once stayed silent. You must protect what is yours with confidence, not apology. Authority is often as simple as saying, "No more," and then holding to it. When you establish boundaries, instability begins to subside because you remove chaotic influences from your foundation. If the shaking comes from within, fear, doubt, exhaustion, then authority means restoring yourself from the inside. It means making choices that support your stability instead of eroding it. It means taking responsibility for your well-being. You cannot save what is shaking externally if you are collapsing internally. Authority begins with self-regulation, self-respect, and self-care. It requires that you feed your strength, not your worry. The moment you choose authority, the energy of the entire situation shifts. You feel your back straighten. You feel your mind sharpen. You feel your breath deepen. You feel your emotions settle. This shift is not symbolic, it is structural. Your life aligns to the energy you hold. When you hold weakness, your life reflects instability. When you hold strength, your life reflects order. Authority is not theoretical, it is transformative. You save what is shaking by becoming the stillness that stabilizes it. What is shaking in your life right now is not asking for panic. It is asking for leadership. Your leadership. Not the leadership of others. Not the influence of outside forces. You are the one who determines whether this structure stands or falls. You are the one who decides whether this moment becomes a turning point or a breaking point. You are the one who holds the authority to protect what matters. And understand this clearly. If you stand in your authority, what is meant for you cannot be taken from you. If you stand in your authority, the house you fear losing can be secured. If you stand in your authority, the threats lose their edge. If you stand in your authority, instability becomes an invitation to fortify, to rebuild, to transform. You do not need everything to stop shaking before you rise. You rise, and the shaking begins to stop. What trembles is not doomed. What shakes is not finished. What feels uncertain is not lost. Everything can still be saved. The only requirement is that you stand fully, firmly, unapologetically in your authority.